So this week's episode of the Real Housewives of Atlanta had it all. I mean, it had the emotions, it had the drama, it had all of the things. I had the behind the scenes screen up right there. So give me 1 second, y'all, while we get into our actual broadcast. But there was quite a few interesting things that we also have to discuss too. Give me a second while I pull up. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Here we go. Hold on, y'all. Let me make it bigger. Let me make it bigger so y'all can see. Get all up into this tea. Shout out to our friends No Chaser because they happened to catch this little exchange right here, baby. This little exchange right here. This little exchange. Ooh, we. Let us know where y'all watching from when you come into the room. Let us know where you're watching from when you come into the room. I see Jacqueline in the building, Angela, Queen B More, Tanya, what's going on? Margaret, I see you. How you doing? All the way from the UK. Let's go. Let's go. All right, so we're doing this live today. Y'all gonna have to forgive me. I'm a little bit off today because there's a bit of a circus going on in our home. But I'll tell you guys about that later. Okay? I'll tell you all about that later. Yeah, it's been a morning already. So with that being said, let's get into the tea with Dennis and Ralph, and then we'll get into the episode. So y'all know that the divorce between Drew and Ralph is pretty much done. But there was a post that Ralph made on his Instagram, and I want to read it to you because it's kind of interesting. So Ralph says, this has been one of the most challenging chapters of my life, but I'm grateful for the people God placed around me to help walk me through it with faith, strength, and grace. I'm forever grateful to my attorney, Miss Precious Anderson. Thank you for believing in me, standing beside me, and guiding me through this difficult process with wisdom, dedication, and integrity. Then this is when he goes into Dennis. He says, Dennis McKinley, thank you for connecting me with Precious. She did everything you said she would, just like she helped you get joint physical custody. And then he has the bro bicep emoji, right? To everyone who prayed, encouraged, and supported my family, especially our children, thank you. Your grace and kindness mean more than you know. No one wins when the family feuds. My focus now is peace, healing, and continuing to show up for my children with love, strength, and consistency. Nothing matters more than being the father they need me to be. Okay. When I initially saw this post, I literally, I scroll, I perused, I did not dissect. Okay. Had I dissected, I might have seen this bit right here. So I saw Dennis McKinley. Thank you for connecting me with Precious. Okay. So I really don't think anything of that, right? I'm thinking, okay, he just got the referral from Dennis. Cool, whatever like that. And I think had Ralph left it at that, then I think he would have been fine. I think it would have been nothing. But then it went into, she did everything you said she would, just like she helped you get joint physical custody. See, now that's where we probably went way into the left, right? Because I don't know that we know in general what the arrangement is for Porsha and Dennis. I mean, I would maybe have assumed that Porsha had custody of, I don't know, to be honest, what I assumed, but it had not been on my mind. Okay. But now it kind of is on the minds of the people because Ralph, you have just pointed out the details of whatever their custody arrangement could be that may or may not have been known. Now in the chat, you guys could let me know. I don't know if we knew this. Y'all might know, but I don't think I was thinking about it. And I don't know that any of y'all were thinking about it. It just looked like they were doing a good job co-parenting based on the fact that we see Dennis on the show, based on the fact that he is filming scenes with her. and sometimes much to her chagrin, because she ended up having to confront production in this episode, breaking the fourth wall. But I kind of felt like they liked that a little bit, because he gave her that ring back in this episode, or tried to, and she had a slam fit. But it's Ralph doing this work right here that is screaming completely diabolical to me. Now that I really look at it, so I can actually understand why Dennis at this point would be like, go downstairs to the basement and tell Ralph he tripping on the announcement. Absolutely. I mean, well, first of all, Dennis, you might need to go down to the basement and tell him that he's tripping. You might need to do that, because, and again, some of this I'm sure is already public, right? It could be public information, it could be public knowledge, but I just also think that to a certain degree, you might. It's this last line, she did everything you said she would, just like she helped you get joint physical custody. It might have should have just stayed something to the effect of, she did everything you said she could do, right? And I appreciate that. It could have just been that. But I just feel like when you get into the whole, yeah, bro, just like she helped you do your thing and get your physical and get your joint physical custody too. Yeah, okay, so I don't know. Listen, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I just feel like we could have had a little bit more decorum with that one, right? I mean, it's Ralph's post. He's a grown man. He can say and do whatever he wants, but I can understand the reaction from Dennis in this regard, because it does feel like you went the extra mile for that one. You went the extra mile for that blow, right? Like, you was like, boom, and I'm gonna actually take a couple of people out with me. All right. I just don't get that. But again, that's just me. It is what it is. And I feel like Ralph probably feels as though, yeah, I should be making my public statements because my side of the story is not being told. That's I think that could be a valid point, but I think that little extra line up in there about Dennis and what his situation is with Porsha, and then now you're kind of circling that back around to what you and Drew have going on even more, after you guys have just had a whole situation where her salary was revealed, and then you guys filed motions for and trying to have each other in contempt for releasing information. You're both accusing each other of releasing information, and now you're going and spilling even more beans. It's kind of like, it's just weird to me. It's just weird that you have all of this stuff going on in the background, and then you're still putting out that type of statement. Just simply thank the man for making the connection. And we didn't even really honestly need to know that. Thank your lawyer, thank your attorney, and keep it pushing if that's what you really want to do. But I think when you start throwing in that extra stuff, that's when you start throwing extra salt and pepper and extra seasoning and some Lowry's that just is not really called for this recipe. But whatever. So that's that. Okay. Now, it was some other tea that came out yesterday, but I'm gonna leave it alone because I recognize that there is some. I don't want nobody to face no repercussions as a result of me talking about this other tea that came out yesterday. So I'm gonna leave that one alone, even though I'm like, ooh. If you caught it yesterday, you caught it. If you didn't, I apologize. I won't go into it. I was just thinking to myself like, ooh. Okay. Anyway, let me not get up in that. Okay. So with that being said, let's get into the episode itself. All right. So we're on season 17, episode 11. It's called Shady Texts and Bigger Regrets. And I want to get into the nuances of this particular episode and what we saw. And we're gonna kind of go scene by scene a little bit because I feel like it's worth noting. I did feel like this episode was good. They did jam pack this episode with a whole lot of stuff that happened, and it felt like a good episode because it left us feeling good a little bit. But then that whole Porsha and Dennis thing kind of just threw a monkey wrench into the episode. All right, which is kind of what you want, right? So the first scene that we see is Shamia going to Cynthia's house. The two of them need to kind of squash that beef because they are still kind of on the outs when it comes to what has happened in Dallas with Shamia and Kelli getting the dirty rooms. For which a lot of people were like, they need to stop complaining. They was just mad that they was on the outs. Well, yeah, I think they might have been mad because they were on the outs, but I also think that nobody wants a dirty room, right? And I think for me, Cynthia, being somebody who has been in this game for such a long time, felt a little too casual about her response to their dirty rooms for me. But we talked about that already. Cynthia has invited her to Lake Bailey, and they have a conversation about, just what's going on with Shamia. Now, there are some things that Shamia reveals in this scene that were not shown, okay? They will be shown. They will be talked about in the next episode when Cynthia runs back to tell Angela Shamia's tea, okay? So, hold on for that one, all right? So it is revealed that Shamia is going through quite a bit, with her surrogacy. And she also has to kind of explain what has happened between her and Angela, and kind of what's going on with her and Drew, right? Now, I feel like Shamia glosses over some of her parts to play in these situations, and I understand that. Similarly, when Drew recounts what happened with her and Shamia, Drew will also recount the details in a very murky way to me. Okay, that they felt murky, and Shamia's also is a little murky. So I don't know I can't say who's more wrong in this situation, but I do feel like sometimes Shamia is probably so defensive with some of these women. And I think she, rightfully so sometimes, but I think she fails to sometimes see her role in where things go a little left, right? And that's fair because these people are still people. People misremember things all the time. Like, I got to go back to Love and Marriage Huntsville last reunion because y'all pointed out something that Kimmy said last reunion that seemed to be very different from what she said this reunion. And I just need to go back and reconnect the dots. But I'm going to save that for another video, okay? It's just bothering me because I see a lot of y'all comments saying it. And I had somebody hit me up about it today and I was like, did she? Let me go back and rewatch that. But anyway, it happens on reality TV. People misremember things and they sometimes forget their own part in their own demise, okay? Such is life, right? So the problem that I have with this scene with Cynthia is that Cynthia does some poking as well. Cynthia wants to know, well, girl, why wasn't Porsha invited to Gerald's party? Speaking of Porsha, Shamia says that I just don't feel like faking it, right? Now, I do understand that Shamia might have had to fake it for that first scene, that first group scene at Porsha's house, but we also needed to get Shamia's new friend group to the event. So she had to kind of be there. It would have been odd because we wouldn't have had a way to bring in, I think, did she bring Pinky with her or something like that? I think she might have brought Pinky with her. I cannot recall. But we needed a way to make those introductions, and it's the first all cast event. Everybody's got to be there. So to bring Porsha to Gerald's intimate birthday party when Gerald actually doesn't even want to be on camera, which we know that. We can see it. It's written all over his facial. I do understand why she might not want to invite Porsha over, especially in this with this reveal that she makes that there were some mean things said about either A, Gerald, or B, her marriage. That is what Shamea fills Cynthia in on. Now, Shamea had been told us about these angry text messages, right? From back in episode 1. So there was that. Now, I don't think I think Shamea says she did not respond to that last barrage of text that Porsha may have indeed sent her. Fun fact, the first video that I did on Housewives on my channel was a video about Porsha and Nene releasing each other's text messages to each other where they were going off on each other. I don't know if y'all remember though that text message reveal online way back in 2019. Okay, that's what really that was really the thing that jumped off for my channel, right? That was, and I remember it distinctly. So as we're now faced with another set of damaging text messages, I'm kind of wondering, like, what was in them, right? Do we ever find out what was said, right? Because when Cynthia runs back to Porsha to tell her, well, girl, Shamea brought you up. Actually, Cynthia, you were asking and see, this keeps happening and it's so frustrating because the audience feels like Shamea keeps bringing Porsha up. And it's like, no, actually, there are a lot of instances, and I will say she did in that first episode, but after that, it feels like all these other women will bring her up. And then if Shamea responds, and this is where Shamea, you have got to learn the game, okay? You have got to learn the game. In order to take away if you want to extinguish a fire, and this is something that Porsha has mastered because she's been on Housewives longer, you have got to diminish the fire by taking away the oxygen. So every time someone mentions Porsha, whether it be somebody who seems like they have good intentions or not, and I'm not saying that Cynthia had bad intentions. What I am saying is Cynthia had intentions to find out some tea, some information, because, girl, they're not getting along. So, Shamea, you've got to wisen up with the way you respond, because otherwise everybody's going to think that you're always just running around talking about Porsha, as evidenced by when Cynthia goes back to her, Cynthia doesn't relay, well, I asked about you, okay? Cynthia leaves that out of the equation. So now Porsha's thinking, well, I mean, I need to start charging these people because it's always Porsha, Porsha, Porsha. You need to start taxing your friends, because those same ones in your group that all y'all be posting photos together, they are the ones who are sparking the flames and making it worse. But Shamea, you ain't doing yourself not a lick of favors at all, okay? Because you have got to learn to say no, okay? Dare to say no. Dare to say no. Shamea, Cynthia, even in her good intentions, has invited you into her home. She asked you about Porsha. You know what? I can't. I'm not going to talk about Porsha. I will only talk about Porsha to Porsha. Okay. So we're not gonna go there, because I'm not gonna be responsible for then what ends up getting said back to Porsha. Okay. That was my old best friend, and I'm gonna just respect where we are right now. She has said her thing. I've said my thing, and that's it. Period. Because as you can see later on, Porsha and Shamea can still have fun together. All the girls can still have fun together, as evidenced by the skate party. So there doesn't have to be this divide that I feel like the girls are actually poking at and poking at and poking at, because I know that in my mind, they want to see that explosion happen. And they know, as I have been stating, that Shamea is the weaker link in this equation. Why is she the weaker link? It's not because she's a weak person. It is because she's new. She's like fresh meat in this situation. And they know Shamea steps in her own poop. Okay? She can't help herself. Now, whether it is because she is stressed and has so much going on, or because she's just simply new, it happens with so many new housewives. We see it, we've seen this over and over again. The new person is always going to be the easiest target because they don't really know what to do and what not to do. As you saw, when Angela brought up Shamea last episode, Porsha skedaddled out of that room. You're not even going to, the camera won't catch my face saying nothing, okay? Y'all not going to even catch, the camera won't catch me saying nothing. Y'all won't catch me saying nothing because I'm smart enough to know I'm getting up out of here. Y'all talk about her all y'all want to, but I'm not going to make this a part of what I got going on. Period. So I did not like that part, right? I didn't like that when Cynthia runs back to tell the group, it is made to seem as though Shamea just brought her up. No, Shamea fell into the trap, period. Okay. The other thing that I feel like I didn't like, I love this scene. I do love this scene I love this group together. It does feel a little ostracizing, and I'm going to kind of jump ahead because we see everybody, all the girls are headed over to Drew's house. Drew has a beautiful spread out. Shout out to your assistants, girl. Shout out to whoever put that together, because that spread that she had of charcuterie was quite delightful. Okay, so I'm not mad at that. And listen, I understand why you want to film in that house. That house is bad. All right, that house is bad. I ain't gonna even lie. And when I say bad, I mean good. Okay. So if you can stay up in that thing for as long as you can, get some extra filming time out of that thing, I ain't mad at you, Drew. I ain't mad at you for fighting for that house, okay? Because it's a beauty to fight. I mean, just like Porsha's house, girl. I understand why you fought for that house. Yes, please. Ding, 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 Shawnee. Ding, 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 Shawnee. Yes, get it. Okay. Bling, bling, bling. Bees is mad. I get it. So the girls, Angela, Phaedra, and Porsha and Cynthia all arrive over to Drew's house. Now, on the ride over, okay, there is some talk between Phaedra and Porsha about Porsha kind of coming out, right? Yeah, that was it. That was it. Ooh, back in the day, man. That was it. Memories. Anyway, so Porsha has kind of I don't want to say come out, but she's basically told the world at this point that she's dating a man and a woman. Okay. Now it is revealed during a meal scene with Mike, the man in this situation. Not man, but I'm saying man as in that's her man, right? I still don't believe it. I mean, do they look good together? Absolutely. Oh, yeah, they do. They look great together. But I just don't buy it. And the fact that he later on did a skit about it later, it's just like, bro, like, I don't know. I have my own feelings about that. But the man is grown. He can do what he want to do. At this point, I just hate when somebody goes offline and then does something that totally negates what we saw you do on the show, and you make it into a joke. Because at the end of the day, like if we're watching story play out, we want to at least feel like what we're seeing is quasi real. And even though we know some of it is fake, like at least, I mean, come on, suspend belief enough. At least wait till the season is over before you do this skit. You ain't even wait till the season's over. Y'all just did the skit and you just like, I was hired for this job. I mean, it's given like, what? Come on, bro. Like commit to something. Commit to the role. Commit to the role. Anyway, he is quasi upset now knowing that he is in competition with Sway, and it is what it is in that scene. Anyway, she talks to Phaedra about that whole situation, and that is what it is too. So They get to Drew's house, and that's when all of the Shamea tea is brought to the table. Oh, yes, girl, from Cynthia. Shamea was talking about your Porsha. Girl, she told us that you sent her some nasty text messages about Gerald. What was it? And then Porsha is like, and smartly so. Porsha is smart because she's been doing this. She says, "Oh, you know what? I am not speaking about any text messages that I sent to Shamia. Okay, that is between me, my iPhone, and hers. Okay, period." And at this point, that leads her to believe that here is yet another incident of Shamia talking about her. And Drew, when she describes the interaction between Shamia and her at the dinner with K. Michelle, what she does is she leaves out anything she said. Okay. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that because I know that's pretty much what Cynthia just did. But when Drew leaves out the details, Drew leaves out details about her own responses to K. Michelle and why K. Michelle. Now, granted, I don't really know that there's an excuse for why K. Michelle got up and left, because I do think that they could have solved maybe this case and ended it at that dinner. But she makes it seem like Shamia then just gets up and leaves too. And no, Shamia tried to have a conversation with her about where they were. Now, granted, Shamia did say, well, you keep bringing up the black situation. I've only heard Drew bring that up one time. And when Drew told her, well, no, you're perpetuating something that just isn't true. And then she called Shamia a lapdog. That is when Shamia got up. Okay. So it wasn't just like Shamia just said, oh, I'm getting up and I'm running behind K. Michelle. It was, no, the two of y'all are sitting here having a conversation. Both of y'all saying things you probably shouldn't be saying. And that is what happened. But again, people misremember. Okay. And so there we are with Shamia yet again at the center of a crime. Oh, but we're not done with you, Shamia, yet, because oh, wait, we're not done yet. K. Michelle also has a Shamia issue. Man, Shamia about to be first chair, okay? Shamia about to be first chair. She about to be last chair. She about to be middle chair. Shamia about to take up a whole side of the couch by herself. Actually, no, she'll be with Kelli because Kelli living in her house. So it'll be Shamia and Kelli on one couch and everybody else on another. K. Michelle will probably be on her own couch someplace off the set because, she don't really want to interact with the girls. So she'll be over there, and Pinky will probably be sitting in Andy's spot because Pinky likes to be in charge of the girls. Okay. So that's in my mind what I see. I see Pinky sitting in Andy's spot with a pink suit on. I see Shamia and Kelli sitting on a couch over here all by themselves. I see K. Michelle sitting in a director's chair at the back where the camera at. I see Porsha, I see Phaedra, I see Angela, and then I see Go Naked 1 and Go Naked 2, which is Drew and then Cynthia in their Go Naked wigs. Basically, that's how the reunion season is gonna look. In case anybody was curious. Andy will be someplace directing like a maestro, because otherwise, what's going on? All right, what else is going on? This is the setup. This is it. So anyway, Shamia, girl, you in danger, and you probably have set yourself up for failure. This is what it sounds like, and I hate to say it because I ain't trying to come down on you, Shamia. Because at the end of the day, I feel like you probably a lovely girl. A lovely young lady. I really do. I just think that you have gotten yourself caught up in a whirlwind and you cannot stop it. Okay. And so Pinky sits down with K. Michelle and they're talking, Pinky is still, bankruptcy. I'm a boss and building up and I love it. I'm here for it. I'm here for everything Pinky. I love Pinky on this show. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I think Pinky's a great addition. She is married. She's going through, but it ain't stopping nothing. That's the type of carrying on I want to see. I need to see that on my screen. You might be in the bankruptcy, but baby, that ain't stopped not a thing. You still making movies. You got Notori basically about to play you and don't bit more look like you at all. But who cares? Who cares? I don't care. You about to do movies and things of that nature. Again, I told y'all my opinion last week about how I felt like Drew needed to get on up in this production, but I mean, listen, color me jaded because I just don't understand how she did not take this opportunity. But Drew is, she's got the entourage, so she cannot be bothered with this. Anyway, and I love Drew too. That's why I y'all might think I'm critical of Drew, but it is because I believe that with the right direction, Drew could do so much more. Okay. Some of these people could do so much more. Okay. Anyway, and my God, is Kelli not blessed? Kelli is the most blessed person I know. Baby, Kelli got $70,000 worth of teeth work, okay, from a man that Shamia hooked her up with, that the show does not even mind that we don't see. So Kelli's man is faceless. I teach y'all faceless content on the weekends, but this man is actually the faceless content that you need to be taking note of. So faceless content, aka Jarvis, aka Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, aka Ultron, but you got to get all up into the Avengers to understand that. This man doesn't even have to show up on camera. He has bought you $70,000 worth of new teeth. You've moved out of your home, okay, because the people down the street was about to get you. And now you've moved into a place that you likely don't even have to pay for because it is under Shamia's umbrella of businesses and networks. Girl, you are living the life. Not only that, but the blessed are not done. Oh no. Nobody is more blessed than Kelli, because now the blessings of Phaedra Parks as your attorney. My God today. This is the best ride of your life. Okay. The best. And I'm not mad at it, Kelli. I'm not hating on it. Y'all listen, y'all know I've been listen, when I tell y'all was low key, I'm telling y'all was hating on Kelli, but Kelli is probably the biggest winner of this season. Baby got everything: a brand new set of chompers, a home, a man that don't even have to show up on screen, and an attorney. Baby, you don't need to beef with nobody, Kelli. I'll be telling everybody, the blessed do not beef with the wicked. Okay, the blessed do not beef with the wicked. Oh. Meanwhile, did anybody think that while they were watching the show, I started putting together all the things. I was like, oh my God, you are in your winning season, even when you losing. Mama. But girl, Shamia, why are you giving away houses? I think you get a house. I think that you should probably just be happy and satisfied with the Kelli friendship of it all. Because according to K. Michelle, you are making some friendship demands of her, and it's making her uncomfortable. Okay. So apparently they go to the club. Shamia's mom shows up looking good, right? Moms look good, right? We can't lie. Moms look good. So they all up in there looking hot to try. I'm sure the three of them up in VIP like, where them dollars at? Spend that. spin that. You know what I'm saying? Like they probably like balling out of control. You know what I'm saying? So then moms, according to K Michelle, moms gets close up on the face, and it's like up on her like this. This is allegedly a K Michelle tells us this. I didn't make this up. But my mind is imaginative. So I'm gonna relate to you how I saw the scene as she talked about it. Okay. So moms gets up in, as the DJ is spinning, spin that, spin that, spin that, spin that, spin that shit, spin that. And so moms is like, and there's probably money raining down from the ceiling at this point because they are in Atlanta, right? And I feel like in Atlanta, money flows from the ceiling like champagne. Okay, so money and champagne are raining from the ceiling, and moms is with K Michelle gripped in her hands. Okay, we are in the word of prayer as the money rains down, and K Michelle is uncomfortable with this prayer in the VIP. Okay, so I don't, she says it lasts for an hour. Maybe it did. Maybe it was probably a minute. But sometimes a minute feels like an hour if you're uncomfortable. So it was probably the length of a song, to be honest with you, because, K Michelle, she still thinks the people are after her. So this is probably what happened. Listen, K Michelle tells us and Pinky, me, okay, she told me because I was watching the scene, and she told you. She said that Shamia tells her, hey girl, I need you to be my friend. Okay. I need you to show me some loyalty because, okay, now I ain't gonna say it wasn't because, but my friend group, none of them wants me to be friends with you. Now, I don't know if she told her that first and then mama laid praying hands. I don't know, because at this point, if I was told in the club as money is raining down upon us, champagne dripping from the bangs into maybe she was not really crying. Maybe it was the champagne stinging her eye. I don't know. All I know is that if I'm told that none of the people, and K Michelle got a thing about these people in Atlanta already. So I'm sure hearing this is probably, and she thinks the people are out to get her. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, you got the lady down the street out to get Kelli. Now you got the people on the show out to get K Michelle. So it is something, I don't know what is going on. So maybe mom was trying to pray this spirit up off of her. I don't know. It could be a myriad of things that was going on in this moment. What I do know is that at this point, the way it is received by K Michelle, she then says in her confessional, but I don't, you know what? I don't care nothing about no Kandi Koated clique, okay? Or no Kandi Koated Nights. So that's what Kandi come into the mix. So my thought is, Shamia, did you tell her that Kandi in the gang don't want to be friends with her? Or did K Michelle assume that it was Kandi and the gang? And Kandi, did you know if this was happening? Kandi probably somewhere like, now how I get in it? So now, this is my thought. Shamia, do you have to go and explain to the Kandi Koated Nights gang that you have told K Michelle that they don't want you to hang out with her? This is why I say I feel like, oh, Shamia, girl, you have got yourself caught up in a whirlwind, and I don't know if you really realize that you did it, right? So, my God. So now K Michelle is like spooked and panicked all over again. Okay. So it does lead one to believe or wonder, like, who this is. Was it something Shamia said that maybe made K Michelle feel like everybody was out to get her? Was it? I mean, it sounds like Shamia just wants some friends on the show, right? She wants to have her own group of people. And some of this probably stems from, and I hate to say this, But y'all, it is super difficult, and this is real. It is super difficult for friends of the show to move into a full-time role because so much of their history on the shows is usually steeped in an attachment to another person, right? And so at times it feels like because of that attachment, it feels like Shamia is searching for a replacement friendship for Porsha. And I'm not making this about Porsha. I'm just I'm making an assessment based on what we see repeated patterns from Shamia. Whereas when we saw the first episode with Shamia last season of season 16, she gave us that she was going to be kind of like the centerpiece. And I think that's what we were hoping for. But she did not give us centerpiece energy. She still gave us, I am Portia's friend energy. And now with the Porsha situation not where it used to be, I do think that there's a hole where she probably is wanting to fill that space. I do. I think she probably misses that friendship and she probably still mourns that friendship, but I think she's still looking for that person that's gonna be her ride or die the way she has likely been for Porsha. Or if Kandi had been on this show in this in season 16, I don't think that we would be seeing Shamia in the same way that we are seeing her now. I don't. Because I don't think that Kandi would have allowed Shamia to make some of the mistakes that Shamia has made. I just don't think she would have. And I think that Shamia would have been able to thrive a bit better because she would have been able to gather the game from Kandi, even when that friendship with Porsha fell apart. That is what I personally think. Okay. Based on what we see and hear, and especially in this episode, that's what it feels like. So while K Michelle is not struggling, she is trying to find her footing and figure out who she can trust. It's probably not helpful to her to have Shamia in her ear saying these things, but Shamia is looking for that same footing herself. So I'm assuming she's hoping to find that in K Michelle as well as like she did with Kelli. I could be wrong. Listen, I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right about everything. I'm just simply telling you from my vantage point what I see and what it looks like from the screen. I don't know any of these. Everybody, I will say, I say this too. I don't assume that what I see on camera is also a reflection of real life. I just give you what I see on screen and on social. That is it. Period. So I make no claims that this is what every person is actually like in real life. I'm just giving you what we see on the show. And I know because I've done reality TV, what you see on the show is not necessarily always the full picture. So understand that too. Okay. Now, back into the action. So Pinky's like, as she's hearing the story from K Michelle, she's kind of like, well, what in the world? That's not cool. That's not cool. So as you will see in next week's episode, Pinky is going to confront Shamia with this question: are you and K Michelle okay? Because it's not addressed in this episode anymore outside of this. In the episode, what we do see is Pinky again brings in another name on the show. She brought in Naturi. Now she's bringing in Montel Jordan and his wife, and they kind of get some counseling from them about, just marriage and dealing with the bankruptcy and everything like that. So that was cool. And then Pinky throws a skating event and everybody gets together. This was an event that I absolutely loved. I thought it was pretty amazing. One of the interesting things about this episode was seeing the dynamic between Angela and her brother as they kind of try to reconcile their feelings about their mom passing. This is always a sensitive subject for me, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Although I just want to say to Angela and to anyone who has lost a family member, I understand what that feeling is and where she is and the ways the year has gone by for her, because I totally have been there. Um, there is an interesting scenario with Angela and her daughter. Um, and Angela's daughter's married to a woman, and we also know that when it happened, Angela did not know. Okay, Angela does not want to tell the kids, the younger brother and sister, that Amari, I think that's her name, her oldest daughter, is married to a woman. Um, hmm. I do think that there is a level of discomfort for Angela with this scenario, and Angela wants Amari to tell the younger brother and sister. I would have to wonder where Angela is with regards to her feelings about her daughter marrying a woman specifically. I think that she probably still struggles with that and maybe doesn't know how to explain it to the kids. And therefore she's leaving it to the sister, to the older sister to do it, her daughter to do it. And I don't know that, while I do think it would be beneficial for Amari to have that conversation with the kids, I would probably prefer that it came from Angela herself, or Angela and Charles, or that they just sat down as a family to discuss it. I think that should be the case. Actually, that's probably a better solution. Because at the end of the day, Angela is still the parent. And I think that I could be mistaken. I don't really know how much their kids know about what they know about. But I can understand there being some hesitancy there, because I just get it. I just know how people are. And it sometimes takes people a while to come to the understanding and acceptance that their child may be gay and also is in a relationship with another woman. It may not be the easiest thing to explain. And so I do think sometimes that every family has to figure out the right way to do this for themselves. My first instinct when I saw the episode was, well, I wish Angela would just tell them. But I just reflect on my own experiences and the experiences of the people around me that I know that have had somewhat similar experiences. And sometimes the parents don't always know what to say, or they don't know how to respond. And you also, I think, have to give your parents the grace to come to an understanding that, because this is something that Amari has probably had more time to process, deal with, understand, and get through. And I know what that feeling is like. And so you still have to allow your parents the time, the energy, and the space to also understand your experience. And it's a difficult situation to be in, and you can see that there's a scene that's coming up in next week's episode. I won't spoil it too much for you, because I am typically a fan of spoiling. But this does come to a head between Angela and Amari next week. So I will let you watch that scene for yourself and see how that goes. Okay. And then we'll come back and discuss it further next week. Okay. But yeah, so that's that. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that in the comments section down below. That was the episode. Y'all, I told you it was a lot to cover in this episode. A lot happened. It was overall a feel-good episode to me. I feel like they focused on a lot of the sisterhood aspects. I joked about Kelli, but I really actually did. You were able to see, they talk about sisterhood a lot on these shows. Sisterhood or brotherhood on some of these shows. But I think in reality, what the thing that we did see was a lot less talk about sisterhood and a lot more of the actions behind it. Between the women gifting Angela, photos, pictures, gifts, just things in memoriam of her mom. Even Shamia, even though they have been battling back and forth, they knew it. Everybody knows when it's time to really get serious about life. Down to even back to Kelli. And I know that, some of what we said was kind of like in jest, but it really did show, it exemplified, Phaedra having been through a divorce, understanding Kelli's financial situation, Shamia understanding Kelli's financial situation, providing her with that space, that safe space where she could go after dealing with this whole situation with this neighbor, which I did remember reading about. I think what it was, and I could be mistaken, was that y'all know when you film a reality TV show, especially in some neighborhoods, this could be a bit of a problem depending on where you live. There is a production caravan that kind of comes along with filming at your home. And that could be, anything from a production van to extra vehicles, cars, equipment. I only say this because I've seen it, right? I just so happened to, for me, when I did it, I lived in a neighborhood that I had plenty of space for people to park, right? There was always an abundance of space, which is kind of sometimes unheard of depending on where you live. But for me, I was in LA. So there was plenty of space for the van, for the extra cars that would be on site for the people, because you've got sometimes 3 camera people. Sometimes you'll have the boom person with the mic, right? You've probably got the on-site producer, you've got a PA, you've got line producer. So there is and there can be a ton of people on the site where you live, and that can be a huge annoyance to your neighbors depending on the type of neighborhood you live in. So if it came down to I cannot film in this neighborhood and I got to move, I'm going to move. Because at the end of the day, this paycheck is something that Kelli still needs. So she needs this job. So if I got to move in order to keep filming, then that's what I'm going to do. Period. So for a lot of people, I don't know if they, I'm speculating about those logistics being an issue for this woman. That could be it, right? Aside from the fact that now you have a Real Housewife of Atlanta living in your neighborhood and the extra chaos that could cause. So if you don't live in a private neighborhood, and you live on a public street that still like has traffic and people, really kind of like in close proximity, that could be a big deal for people who live in the neighborhood. And it could make things very, very difficult for you. So you've got to be aware of that. And also too, like, it was for me, luckily enough, my apartment complex, my job, which if y'all knew the story behind my job when I was filming, like I'm gonna tell that story because I did not realize where I was working at the time. But in the fact that I was working where I was working, I realized where I was working. I just didn't realize what was happening. Okay. And when I think about what was happening, and then I realized, y'all let us film here? Y'all crazy. So I'll tell you that story on my personal channel because it's too much for TV right here. Okay. But anyway, I just know that to be a factor, a huge factor, and it could really affect whether or not you can truly actually film or not, which is a lot of times why I feel like they want housewives or people in general, not even just housewives, to be able to film, like to have homes in like neighborhoods where you have a huge yard or you have a huge space where they can just pull into your driveway. That's going to make a big difference for people who film versus somebody who films in a townhouse. No shade to a townhouse, but we know that in a townhouse community, the parking may be an issue. And you want to have as much parking space as possible for the people who live there to actually park. Not a whole production team there muddying up the waters, right? Not to mention the extra noise, the chaos, the attention. People who live private lives want to stay private and they don't want all that extra attention in their neighborhood. So I get the scenario. I get it. Anyway, yes, when I was on Stripped. Mm-hmm. Yep. Anyway, so make sure you guys like this video if you get a chance to. It's free to just smash that like button. It helps with the engagement. Leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about the episode in general. I cannot wait to read your. I read y'all's comments sometimes, and I just be chuckling so hard to myself because some of y'all are so crazy, and I absolutely love it. And then some of y'all leave such like really, really thoughtful and thought provoking comments that I just be like, yo, y'all need your own YouTube channels. So please be sure to leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. With that being said, y'all, I will catch you in the next video.